Hi, my name is Whitney, and I'm a volunteer with the League of Women Voters of North Dakota, and I'm here to talk about how to run for office in North Dakota. So the League of Women Voters of North Dakota is a nonpartisan grassroots political organization, and part of that means the League does not support or oppose any candidate or political party. But it does mean that we can talk to you about how to run for office and teach you the basics. So we envision a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. And one way to participate is by running for office. So let's jump in. Congrats! You want to run for office. Maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you're clicking here because you just have not known the basics. This is for you then. What we will cover in this video is the types of elected offices that you can run for, what to do before you start a run, how to gather signatures, the paperwork you need to file, but we will not cover how to campaign. That would be a separate video. We're trying to keep this one shorter. So this is how you start with the basics. All right, so here are some of the types of offices that you can run for. There are partisan offices, so there are statewide offices like governor, attorney general. There's the state legislature. That's a partisan office. There are nonpartisan offices you can run for. So that's county candidates like county commission, your sheriff. There are local candidates like mayor, city council, school board, and park board. And we are going to be focusing most of this video on those nonpartisan offices. So if you're thinking of running for state legislature, please reach out to your political party you want to run with, and they can get you connected at your district level. So you can get involved and they can help you with the process. But for those nonpartisan offices, you don't have a party to help you through the process. So we want to go through the process right here. First up, you have to know when you're going to be running for. So North Dakota elections, there are state-run elections run in even-numbered years. So next year is 2024. We will have 2 state-run elections. The first one is the second Tuesday in June. Next year, it's June 11th. This is the general election for park board, mayor, and city council and commission. So this is the only election. So it stops here. So it's a very important election to vote in and also to run in. There are over like 1,000 candidates that run in that election across the whole state. This is also the primary for county and state candidates. So the county candidates do move on to the general election that first Tuesday in November. I also want to note that that second Tuesday in June is when a lot of the school board elections happen. They can happen anywhere between April and the end of June, but many of them fall on that second Tuesday in June. So if you're not sure when your school board election is and you're thinking about running, please reach out to your school business manager to check on when that election is, because sometimes it's just a separate school district election for your school district. All right, so some things to do before you run. Talk to people who have run. You can reach out to someone who is in office, even if it's for a different office than what you're considering running for. Talk to some people who have run before so you get an idea for what it took to run in a campaign. And it will be different if you're running opposed, so someone's running against you, or if you're running unopposed, then that kind of campaigning looks a little different. I would also recommend watching some public meetings. So if you're thinking about running for school board, go to the school board meetings and watch a couple times, just so you understand the flow of the meetings and what issues they're discussing. You can go to your city council or commission meetings and check those out, and some are online that you can stream, but it's a great way to learn more about that office. Another thing you need to do before you run is review the state's candidate resource page and make sure you qualify. All right, so when you're looking at that page, you'll see this term, qualified voter. This is what qualified voter means. You're a U.S. citizen, at least 18 years old on election day. You're a North Dakota resident, and you've been a resident of your precinct for at least 30 days. So these are the basic qualifications. Some offices have more qualifications, usually related to these things, age or residency, but qualified voter means this. So qualifications to run. Here's an additional thing to note. You do not have to be an experienced politician to run for office. You do not have to have a special degree or special education to run for office. This is not really a qualification, but people just run because they care about their community. So you have just citizens across the state sitting on our park boards, our school boards, our city council, commission, even mayor. They care about their community, so they ran for office, but they didn't have experience before they ran, and they didn't have any special education to run for that office. They just had issues they cared about and ran. So that's something to think about. This is what we hear a lot, like, I don't have experience in politics. Well, that's not what this is. This is about going and talking about issues you care about in your community. All right, so now I will jump into the state's resource page where you can find those qualifications. This is vote.nd.gov, and I will put any links below in the YouTube video description. So this is what you'll see right now. I think they're going to make some updates within the next year to this page, but right now, November 2023, this is what it looks like. So on the left side of the screen, you will see voters, candidates listed. If you click candidates, you can click on anything. If you want to run for president, Congress, partisan statewide, nonpartisan statewide, they're all listed there. And this also has, if you see on the screen, your election calendar, your voting and election law. Everything you need is right here. This is like your one-stop shop for all the information, right on vote.nd.gov. So I'm going to dive in just a little more on this. If you click on that list on vote.nd.gov, you'll see on the left side, city, and that will bring you to all the information for running for a city office. And you see I have a purple arrow. If you click running for city office, you'll see this page on the right. And this is everything you need to know, what paperwork you need to fill out, where you need to drop it off. Everything is on this page. All right, so gathering signatures. Many offices in North Dakota require you to gather signatures from qualified voters of your district. So that paperwork looks like the top section is info about you, your contact info, what office you're running for, and then the second pages, and you can print more of those, has lines for you to collect signatures from qualified voters of the area you're running in. So that includes the date they signed, their printed name, their signature, and their address. And so you just bring it around to people in your area, make sure they're in your area you're running in, and you collect their information and signature. This is based on the percent of votes cast in the last election for that office, and it always caps at 300 signatures. So it might be well lower than that if it had lower voter turnout, if you live in a small city. So please check in with your local elections office, which is like the city auditor, the county auditor, check in with them and see what you need to gather. You can start gathering your signatures on January 1st for the June election. So starting January 1st, you can start gathering them to the April deadline for your paperwork, which I'll talk about in a minute. There are some exceptions to signature gathering. One is school board candidates do not have to gather any signatures to run for office. Another thing is, it's not listed here, but like the city of Fargo, they have their own ordinances and laws for the city, and they have some related to elections. So in the law for city of Fargo, they have it that you can file with $100 instead of collecting those signatures. So please reach out to your city office just in case there are other laws. But I think that might be unique to Fargo. And Fargo also has additional requirements for mayor and running for those local offices. So you have to live in Fargo for 6 months instead of just those 30 days in your precinct. So please check in with your city to make sure that you don't have additional age or residency requirements if you're thinking about that. All right. Now, state legislative, the other exception to signature gathering are for state legislative or statewide partisan offices. If you're endorsed by an established political party, you can fill out an endorsement paperwork instead of gathering those signatures. So that is another exception if you're thinking about state legislature and running sometime. But they also have a lower signature requirement. It's based on the number of voters in the district. So it's usually around 160 signatures if you don't get that party endorsement. All right, so that is gathering signatures. You just go around, gather the signatures of people, qualified voters in your district. All right, so now let's go to the paperwork because they have to know some things about you to put you on the ballot. So the forms that every office needs to submit are these top two. A statement of interest form is a financial disclosure form that every candidate has to fill out and submit to their office, that they're like their city auditor or the county auditor. You have to fill that out. 2, an oath of office is a pretty simple form. It's like, I will make sure to uphold the North Dakota Constitution, the US Constitution, and the duties of this office. And then you sign it and have it notarized. So there's those 2 paperwork that everyone has to fill out. Okay, so the third one you see is the petition/certificate of nomination. So if you have to gather signatures, this is the form you fill out. If you're not gathering signatures, it's not this form. And then if you're thinking about running for county commission, there's an affidavit of candidacy, which is a pretty simple form, and you do have to have it notarized. It has like your contact info, you write on there, and then you notarize it. All right, so those are the paperwork for those the local offices. There they are. And they're all on the vote.nd.gov. All right, so you have the time frame of filing your paperwork from January to April of the election year, and you need to check the state election calendar for the final deadline. I will have a timeline slide in a minute, but it is Monday, April 8th by 4 p.m. It has to be in the hands of the person you need to turn it into. And so let's see who that is. This is a great slide to screenshot or pause right here, and you can look at for those local offices what you need to fill out and where you need to file your paperwork. So if you look at school board, you don't have to gather signatures. You have the statement of interest and oath of office form, and you go bring it to your school business manager. That's who you file with. Park board, mayor and city council or commission, that's all the same for both of those. You gather your signatures, fill out your 3 forms, and bring it to your city auditor. County commission, you fill out all the forms and gather the signatures and bring it to your county auditor's office. And lastly, you see the state legislature on here. I wanted to include that in case you're thinking about running. If, again, you're endorsed by a political party, you do not need to gather those signatures. And that you file with the Secretary of State. You file everything. All right, so screenshot this, pause it here, find out where you need to file and what you fill out. All right, so you gathered your signature, you found out if you qualified, you gathered your signatures if needed, and then you filed all your paperwork. So you will now start your campaign and continue speaking to people who have campaigned for elected office. That is, I've heard from many people who run, that is a very helpful thing. As when you're starting your campaign, please check with them. Another thing to do is open a separate bank account if you plan to take in donations or spend money on your campaign. So make sure just to note that if you plan to spend money or take in money. Lastly, there are resources on the League's How to Run page. It's listed there, and I'll put it in the YouTube description. There are some organizations at the bottom of that page that can help you with your campaign for running for office. All right, another thing to note is we, the League of Women Voters of North Dakota, we put our candidate information and our voter guide on vote411.org. It's a site that the National League of Women Voters has, that League of Women Voters groups can put candidate information on. So it is a national site. That's why you'll see a register to vote button, even though North Dakota does not register voters. So our statewide voter guide for the June and November elections. We cover all the candidates in the state for those elections. So it's a number of candidates. And then we have to wait for the filing deadline and the final list of candidates. And then when we have that, we email invitations to candidates in early May. So expect to see an email from us inviting you to fill this out and answer the questions and upload your photo. Then we publish in mid-May for the June election, and then we publish again in September. And we keep the questions the same and just republish them if you fill it out. All right, so voters enter their address here, and then they see the races and candidates that will be on their ballot, and they can read your answers to our questions. So this is a great way to get your information and where you stand on the issues out to voters. So please remember, early May, you can fill this out. All right, so I wanted to review this so you remember steps to running for office. First, talk to someone who has run. Go to vote.nd.gov and make sure you qualify, see what paperwork it takes. Start gathering your signatures if you need them. Then submit your paperwork to the correct place, as was on the other slide. And then start your campaign. And remember to fill out Vote 411 so voters know about you. And I also wanted to include this timeline for 2024. January 1st, start collecting signatures. There's the deadline, April 8th. Early May, fill out the Vote 411 voter guide. And then the election next year is June 11th. So it's a state primary and the city general election, and many of the school board races are also on that date. And then if you're in a county race, November 5th is your state general election, and that includes the county offices. All right. So I encourage you to take the next step. If you haven't taken a step on this yet, besides watching this video, meet with someone who's run for office and find out what it took for them. And you got this. You can do it. Oh, and if you have questions on running for office and submitting the paperwork, the best place to go is the state's elections office. And I'll include a link to their email address down below in the YouTube description. They will be the best place to find information or ask questions. All right. Thank you so much. Goodbye.